All right, people, strap in because today we're tackling the entire Old Man's War series. We've got old soldiers and young bodies, political backstabbing, space battles, and existential crises. It starts strong, but does it hold up all the way through? Let's find out. I already reviewed the first book, but if you need a quick refresher, Old Man's War is about 75-year-olds who trade their aging bodies for genetically enhanced ones to fight humanity's battles in space. It's sharp, snarky, and filled with action and heart as John Perry, our everyman protagonist, navigates the brutal realities of interstellar war while grappling with what it means to live, die, and fight for humanity's survival. If you haven't read it yet, please fix that. Trust me, it's worth it. All right, let's continue with the sequel, The Ghost Brigades. This book gives us a deeper look into the special forces, who are basically the colonial union's secret weapon. They're cloned from dead people, genetically enhanced, and thrown into battle with zero attachment to humanity. It's like someone took the idea of detachment and said, yeah, let's make it literal. Jared Dirac, the main guy, is one of the most interesting characters in the series because he's essentially a walking ethical dilemma. He's a clone of Charles Booton, a traitorous scientist who sold humanity out to an alien coalition. Jared has Booton's DNA and was supposed to inherit his memories, but surprise, the brain upload doesn't work right away. So instead of being this perfect tool for the CDF, Jared is just trying to figure out who the heck he is. And let's not forget Jane Sagan, who comes back from Old Man's War as a total badass. She leads Jared's squad, and honestly, her presence alone adds a lot of weight to the book. You can feel the conflict in her. She's technically a Ghost Brigade soldier, so she's not human in the traditional sense. But she's way more human than most of the people giving orders. What's wild about this book is how Scalzi tackles identity and morality while still delivering on action. You get these intense battle sequences, but between all the alien shootouts, you're left wondering, are the Ghost Brigades just tools of war? Or are they people with the right to choose their own path? It's a bold move. And while it doesn't have the same humor as Old Man's War, it still punches you in the gut with some of its deeper themes. This book isn't just asking, what does it mean to be human? It's asking, what does it mean to exist at all? So while it's a more philosophical ride than the first book, it's still got enough action and sci-fi insanity to keep you hooked. Now we get to the last colony, and guess what? This is where the series takes a sharp turn away from military sci-fi. John Perry's back, but he's traded in his rifle for a farm until the colonial union shows up like, hey, want to lead a colony called Roanoke? Oh, and don't ask too many questions. This book leans hard into political intrigue. It's less about shooting aliens and more about shady backroom deals and betrayals. If you're here for epic space battles, this one might not be your jam, but if you're into Scalzi's snarky take on leadership and moral dilemmas, it still delivers. Zoe's tale retells the last colony through the eyes of John and Jane's adopted daughter Zoe. Think of it as YA sci-fi. If you've already read The Last Colony, this feels a bit like deja vu. Not bad, but skippable unless you're a completionist. The Human Division, Book 5 in the Old Man's War series, shakes things up with a collection of 15 short stories instead of a single cohesive novel. It brings back Harry Wilson from the Ghost Brigades, this time as a CDF tech genius turned intergalactic diplomat. The stories dive into the political mess between Earth, the colonial union, and the Conclave, where diplomacy is basically a contact sport. Now, while some stories shine like the B-Team and the Dog King, which are clever, fun, and action-packed, others feel like filler, leaving the whole book a little disjointed. It's got Scalzi's signature humor and wit, but after the emotional and character-driven Perry saga, this one feels like popcorn sci-fi. Fun, but not entirely satisfying. If you like political intrigue with a side of chaos, it's worth a read. Just don't expect it to hit the emotional heights of the earlier books in the series. The end of all things, the sixth and final book in the Old Man's War series closes things out with a collection of 4 novellas. And honestly, it's a mixed bag, but a solid one. It focuses on diplomacy, interstellar politics, and the consequences of all the chaos that's come before. The end of all things is thematically stronger than the Human Division, and it finally gives us a payoff for those lingering plot threads. If you've stuck with the series this far, it's worth the read. It's not perfect, but it's a satisfying, if bittersweet, send-off. If you're here for the pulse-pounding military action of Old Man's War, these books might not hit the same. But if you're into galaxy-spanning political intrigue with some Scalzi wit sprinkled in, they're worth checking out. Just don't expect laser battles every 5 pages. The first 2 books, Old Man's War and The Ghost Brigades, are where Scalzi's creativity really shines. They've got humor, action, and enough existential dilemmas to make you question your life choices. Those 2, absolute bangers. But after that, things start to get murky. The Last Colony and Zoe's Tale shift away from military sci-fi into more political and personal drama, which might work for some readers. But for me, it felt like a bit of a genre bait and switch. And by the time we hit the Human Division and the end of all things, the series leans heavily into political thrillers and galaxy-spanning diplomacy. It's not bad. It's just not what hooked me in the first place. At the end of the day, I'll say this. The Old Man's War series is worth reading, even if you only stick with the first 2 books. Scalzi nailed that perfect blend of humor, heart, and hard-hitting action that makes military sci-fi so damn fun. And hey, if you've read the whole series, tell me in the comments. Did you love the direction it went, or were you like me, glazing over the later parts? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more military sci-fi goodness. See you in the next one. Burn bright and burn enough.